Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Techniques. So today I'm going to go through some basics of FTP pen testing, file transfer protocol, and specifically we're going to use Metasploitable 2 as a target machine. So Metasploitable 2 is an intentionally vulnerable machine that you can use to do your pen testing in a safe and legal environment. You can install it as a virtual machine. You can install it on Docker. If I come to Docker Hub, so I have installed it as a Docker container. So there are many tutorials out there that you can use on how to set up Docker containers. So if I come to Docker Hub, Metasploitable 2, yeah, it's here, it's right here. No, but this is not the one I was looking for. Yeah, it's this one, Cyber Academy Labs. So this it's a Docker container for Metasploitable 2 that you can use. So I've already set up the Metasploitable 2 on my machine. I have it here. It's running as a Docker container. So if I go to ifconfig, I have the IP address of the Metasploitable 2 machine. So Metasploitable 2 is already running on my machine. We're going to do some port scanning, then check for open ports and services on the Metasploitable 2 machine. So these are just the basics of pen testing. I'm going to do some videos later on the 5 phases of ethical hacking. Remember, we have 5 phases. We have information gathering, stroke reconnaissance, then we have scanning, some different types of scanning, port scanning, network scanning, vulnerability scanning. Then we have gaining access or exploitation. This is where you try to use the vulnerabilities to actually try to gain access to the system. Then we have maintaining access. So after you have gained access, you may want to maintain that access so that you may want to come back later. Then the last one is clearing tracks. No thief wants to get caught. Okay. So I already have the IP address of the Metasploitable 2. So just drop a comment if any of you has any problem with configuring the Metasploitable 2. So remember, you can just download it as you can just do Metasploit 2 download. I think it's SourceForge, yeah, it's here. So you can just come here, download it, download the latest version here. It's 865 megabits. You can just download it. Then you can use a tool like VMware or VirtualBox to set it up. So if you have any troubles with setting it up, you can just drop a comment. I can guide you from there. Okay, so I've opened a new tab here. So I'm just going to we'll start doing some port scanning right now. But the one that we are interested on today is FTP, the file transfer protocol. So I'm going to do sudo nmap-sv. So let me just finish up, then I'll explain what I'm doing. Then I'll do vv. So you know that sudo is we are just running this script as a root user or as an administrator. Then Nmap is the tool. Then we have these switches for Nmap. So this stands for services or service detection and version. So we want to know the services and the versions that are running on the Metasploitable 2 machine. Then this is the IP address of the target machine, and then -vv. So -v is for verbose. We want to see the output of the scan. Then I'm adding another v so that I can see even more output. I can get more output. So I'll put enter. So as the scan is already going, we can even get a lot of information here. We already know that port 8 is open. We have port 139, port 3306, 8 is HTTP. We have 139, 3306, 21 FTP, 445 HTTPS. So we even have MySQL that's running their database. So the one that I'm most interested in is this one, port 21. That's where the FTP server runs on. So it's not a must that you expect an FTP server to be running on port 21. A network administrator may configure it to run even on port, let's say, even a port 33,000. Remember, there are 35,535 ports, total ports, and those are TCP ports. So all these are TCP ports. Okay, so we have TCP and UDP. TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol, while UDP is for User Datagram Protocol. So I think later I'm gonna do a video on touching on TCP and UDP, a bit of networking. You need to have some concepts of networking for you to be a good hacker. You need to understand how computers work, how they interact, how they exchange information. You need to understand how the internet works. You need to understand the three-way handshake that the TCP protocol uses. All these are very, very important for you. So if you can drop a comment on these areas of networking that you want me to touch on, and I'll be sure to create a video for it. Okay, so the scan is still continuing. So this is what we mean by verbose. We see the output of the scan. So if I open another tab, then I'll do Nmap, just Nmap like that. It will give me, so you'll see some more switches. We have -il if you want to scan a list of hosts on a text file. We have a lot. We have SN for sweeping network, UDP scan if you want to scan for UDP ports. Then if you want to use scripts against the target, there are scripts here. So Nmap has something that we call the Nmap scripting engine. It's just basically for how do you say it? It's for, so Nmap itself is it's powerful, but the Nmap scripts add additional functionality to the Nmap script. It gives more functionalities like doing vulnerability scans. So by default, Nmap can't do a vulnerability scan, but with the help of these scripts, you can actually do a vulnerability scan. I'll actually do a video on that. I already have it on my timetable for this. So the one that I was doing, let me just show you. Where is it? -sv where the hell? So it's here, SV. So we are probing for open ports to determine service and version information. So there's no French here, okay? So if you want to do OS detection, it's -O. And Linux has you need to be specific with if it's a capital, it's case sensitive. If it's a capital O, it's a capital O, not small o. Okay. So the scan has completed. One host hub. So where is it here? So we have a lot of information now. So port 21 is open. It's listed. So Nmap lists these services in a good way. Here you'll find the port, the state of the port, if it's open or closed, and the service behind the port. We even have a reason. Then we even have a TTL value, time to leave. So this is also part of networking, TTL, time to leave. Then we have the version of the FTP server, VSTPD 2.3.4. So Metasploitable 2 is old by comparison. I think it was released somewhere in 2012. But if you want to be serious about pen testing and ethical hacking, I think you need to go back to these systems. Try to do the very, very, very basics. Okay, so we are going to exploit this FTP server here, VSTPD 2.3.4. I know it has a vulnerability. I have already taught my students this. So this is the very, very basics of hacking. Okay, so if we go online, open a new tab, VSFTPD 2.3.4. So I'll just assume that I don't know if it's vulnerable. Okay, I'll just make an assumption that I don't know if it's vulnerable. Since it's the first one on the list, I'll try to exploit it. Then the first thing I'll do, I'll go online to see if there's a vulnerability associated with that FTP server. So you'll get some simple explanation here. Then if you go back, let's open this in a new tab. Then let's open this one too. So judging from this, you already know it's vulnerable. Okay, VSTPD 2.3.4 backdoor command execution. It was disclosed on 7th March 2011. Okay, so it's a backdoor command execution vulnerability. So now that we know there's a vulnerability associated with that version of FTP server, what I can do, I can also come to another site called ExploitDB. So it's a database of exploits. Exploit is just a tool that takes advantage of a vulnerability. So if I come to VSTPD 2.3.4, let's see if yeah. So we have a backdoor command execution. Then the next one is a backdoor command execution. And the good thing here is we can use Metasploit framework to do the exploitation. Okay, so that's awesome. So Metasploit framework is just a framework that contains all these tools packaged together to make your ethical hacking work easy. Okay, so now that we know Metasploit framework has an exploit for this vulnerability, there's no need for me to continue surfing. What I can do, I can open a new tab, clear it, sudo msf console. I'll just open up Metasploit framework. Okay, oops, okay, it's okay. So we have a vulnerability on the FTP server. So all these other services and ports have a vulnerability. Okay, so it's a good way for you to start practicing penetration testing. For example, the Apache HTTPD server also has a vulnerability. Almost all of them have a vulnerability. I'm going to cover them on a later tutorials one by one. So, but I challenge you as an aspiring hacker, aspiring ethical hacker, to learn how to do penetration testing on these services. Okay, so Metasploit framework is there. What I can do, I can search for that specific version of the FTP server. TPD VSFTPD 2.3.4. okay, yep, and we do have an exploit for this vulnerability. So if I wanted to gain more information, I can do info 0 to gain more information. So this is the exploit here. It targets Unix systems and it targets FTP servers and this version of FTP server. It was disclosed on 2011 and the rank is excellent, meaning the exploit works perfectly. Then it doesn't support check. It's okay. I'm going to do a video of Metasploit framework. So remember to subscribe so that you don't miss these videos. So, and this is the description of the exploit. So I can do info 0, then it will give me even more information. The architecture is command, privilege, yes. So privileges, that means that if we do exploit this vulnerability, we will gain access as a root user. That is just awesome. Then you have what the module needs. It needs so the port is set by default because we are targeting the port 21, that's FTP. Then all we need to do is put the rhost here. Then we have a simple description here. This module exploits a malicious backdoor that was added to the VSTPD download archive. This backdoor was introduced into the archive between June 30th, 2011 and July 1st, 2011. Okay. So let me just clear it now. Then I'm going to do, let me just again, then use 0. So I can use 0 is the ID, or I can just grab the whole thing up here, right click, copy it, and then use it, paste. For example, I can do use 0. So I'm now in the module, the exploit module. If I go back again, I just want to show you, then paste the module itself. I will do, let me just copy it. These are just Metasploit basics. Then paste it, enter. So those are two ways of interacting with the module on Metasploit framework. So I can do options to see what the module needs, and now I know that it requires only the rhosts. So I can do set rhost, then what was the IP? I'm lazy. Okay, let's paste it here, then enter. Then let's check options again to make sure that everything is fine. So since everything is set, remember the payload has already been configured. It's using a default payload, command Unix interact. So, but if you wanted to use a different payload, you can do show payloads. But I only have one because the module only it can only use that one. Okay, it's compatible with only that one. But other exploits can use different payloads depending on your needs. So now what I can do, since everything is set, I can do exploit, or I can do run, whichever you want to use, exploit or run to launch the exploit. And just like that, we have a shell. Command shell 1 has already been open. If I do pwd, I'm in the root directory. Who am I? I'm root. Okay, so I can do a lot of things here. If I do ifconfig, I'll find the IP address. This is the same thing that we found here on the other tab, the Metasploitable 2. We have the IP here, the same thing here. Now I can even create documents. For example, I can do touch, let's say hack.txt. Now if I come to the Metasploitable 2 machine, I do ls, where's hack.txt? Yeah, it's here. Okay, it's there. So I've just created a text file there. The same way I can upload backdoors, web shells. I can do a lot of things. I can switch off the machine. There's a lot. I can do further exploitation. So you can do a lot. You have the machine. Okay, you own it now. Then another thing that I want to show you guys is so not people are familiar with the shell commands. So these shell commands are basically operating system commands. ls, cat, make directory. For example, I can make a directory here. Let me just call it directory hacker. Okay, let's just say hacker. So if I come to the Metasploitable 2, so you'll see it's not here. Okay, if I do ls again, I should have a directory called hacker. Where is it? Are you seeing it, guys? Are you seeing it? Yeah, it's here. Sorry, am I blind? It's here, hacker. Okay, so that's basic pen testing of the file transfer protocol, FTP, and we just use the Metasploitable 2 as our target machine. Now, on my what I said earlier, not many people understand shell. Okay, not many people understand shell. So what you can do, Metasploit framework has a way for you. I mean, the shell is not as interactive as many people want it. Okay, so what I can do background. I can background this session. Yes. So I don't know if you have heard of a Meterpreter shell. So a Meterpreter shell is by far very, how can I put it? It's very easier for people to use. It's very interactive. You can do a lot, but you have to know shell commands. Okay, so what I can do now, if I do sessions, I see that we have a session already. Okay, now I am going to upgrade this shell to a Meterpreter shell. Okay, I can do sessions -u upgrade then 1, and Metasploit framework will upgrade the session for you. Okay, then sessions again. Now we have a Meterpreter shell. Okay, then what I can do now is interact with the Meterpreter shell, session -i for interact, then the 2, it's 2 here, the ID is 2, sorry, sessions -i 2, and that, just like that, we are now in a Meterpreter shell. Okay, now I can do help, and we see a lot of things here. For example, you have let me go up here. You have core commands, file system commands, networking commands, system, webcam, mic, and audio output. So if I do system info, now I have the information for the Metasploitable 2. It's running on Ubuntu. That is the IP, and the architecture is 64-bit. Okay, and the kind of Meterpreter shell that we are using. Okay, so you can do also other things. Let me just see what else can we do. We can also do ifconfig right from here. We have the interfaces that are being used by the Metasploitable 2, localhost, and Ether, that is Ethernet. So guys, I hope you have found a simple description. So what we did today is we scanned a system, we found a FTP server running, Then we did some research. We found the FTP server was vulnerable. We tried to look for exploits, and by luck we found that Metasploit framework actually has an exploit for that vulnerability. Then we used the Metasploit framework to do the exploitation, and we gained access. Okay, so yeah, you can drop your comments down here. If there's anything you need me to touch on, something you have not understand, please feel comfortable to tell me, or just throw a message. Okay, I'll love to give back. So thank you guys, and remember to subscribe. I'm going to create more videos, simple explanatory videos, so that you can understand how these things work, and you can how do I say it, make your journey into cybersecurity as easy as possible, because cybersecurity is it's very broad. It can be very overwhelming for some people. So I'm here to try to minimize that confusion and try to make it as simple and as easy as possible. So don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much, and God bless you all.